Okay, we'd like to call to order tonight's committee of the whole for August 18th, 2020. City Council should have the minutes from the August 4th, 2020 committee of the whole meeting. Do I have any additions or corrections to those minutes? If not, do I have a move to approve?
Move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
And those minutes carry forward. Are there any questions on tonight's agenda for City Manager Buston? Questions on the agenda tonight for the City Manager?
I have, I guess this is the time to bring up the issue with the Cordino property on Judd. I was told I could bring it up.
1 second, Connie. Hold on just 1 second. Yes, it might be. Is there no other questions on the agenda from the council? Okay, we'll move forward. Before you get started, Connie, let me make this statement. We talked about 2 weeks ago about creating a time, a designated time during the committee of the whole for the council to ask general questions. Frankly, Jim and I have not gotten together and talked about how we would put that together and what kind of boundaries we would try to build around that and what we would call it and how much time we would allocate to that. The staff has been very busy working on the budget that we'll talk about here in just a minute. And personally, I did not feel like it was the most important task for Jim and I to be taking his time away from to discuss. We will do that in the future. With that being said, Ms. Taylor does have something that she would like to bring up that I told her we would allow her to bring up here tonight and ask a question. So go right ahead now, Connie.
Okay, I guess, well, what I thought I was doing tonight is I was just gonna bring it up, I guess, to put on the agenda, okay?
Sure.
Just to have I hadn't got all my questions together yet, but is this the time that I bring it up to put on the agenda? I mean,
Yes,
I
it would be.
add it to the agenda.
Yes, ma'am.
Is what I'm asking. Okay.
Yes.
So I don't have a question tonight. I just want to know when can I put it on the agenda?
So you would like to put on the agenda during the committee of the whole an opportunity to talk about the Corandino project that is in your ward. Am I summarizing that correctly?
That's correct.
Okay. Mr. Buston, could we do that at one of the 2 meetings in September during the committee of the whole?
Okay.
We could? Okay.
That's the first one.
At the first one? Okay. Would the council be okay with setting aside time for that during the first meeting in September, which I believe is September the 1st, during the committee of the whole? Is the council agreeable to that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. The ones I can see are nodding and the other ones I'm gonna presume you said yes. So good. Okay. Well, we'll do that then on September the 1st. Connie, if there are specific things that you would be looking for answers on that the staff would need to potentially be prepared for, I hope you'll communicate those to. I encourage you to communicate those to the city manager. Thank you.
Okay, I will. I will try to get my mute button off. I will.
You were kind of nodding at me. I wasn't quite sure, so thank you.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions from the council? All right, do we have a move to adjourn?
Yes, sir, Mayor.
Okay, go
Mayor,
ahead,
I
Tom.
have a question.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Buston, on the lighting for the roundabout at Cox Road and Wire Road, is that just the city's part of that, or is that job going out for the bid yet, or do you know?
That job, I believe, has gone out to bid. The lighting is part of that project. Our city engineer could answer that, or Megan, if you want to take a shot at that, or I see Allison's here. So.
Yeah, so the lighting will accompany the roundabout project, and it's a city's portion of a direct payment to Alabama Power to provide lighting for the roundabout.
Any idea when that project could get off the ground?
Probably not until the spring. We are still appraising the properties. We need 2 properties for right-of-way, and those appraisals are being done now.
Okay,
So
thank you.
Probably spring.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Yes, one more. I just wanted to ask Mr. Buston, did you get my email today about the trees over on Stubbs Avenue?
I did, and we will get an answer to you shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other further questions? Okay, do I have a move to adjourn the committee of the whole?
So moved.
We are adjourning the committee of the whole. It is 7 o'clock. So Lindsay, we will go ahead and I'll call to order tonight's city council meeting for August 18th, 2020. Roll call, Lindsay.
Dawson,
Here.
Dixon,
Here.
Griswold,
Here.
Hovey,
Here.
Parsons,
Here.
Smith,
Present.
Taylor,
Here.
Witten,
Here.
Anders.
Here. To begin my mayor's communications tonight, we will do like we did last month, and we'll recognize many of our outstanding employees for their, not only their service to the city of Auburn, but we're also going to recognize two of our employees for the month of June and the month of July as our employees of the month. And we'll be doing that by video. So Greg, would you please play the video? This is Mayor Ron Anders, and due to the COVID pandemic, we have not been able to formally introduce you to all of our great employees here in the city of Auburn. And so for the months of June and July, this video will introduce you to not only our employees of the month, but all the many employees who have worked for a very long time here at the city of Auburn. Again, to each one of them, thank you for your service to our citizens. This is Mayor Ron Anders, and I'm proud to introduce you to our June Employee of the Month, Ms. Jennifer Halverson. And I have a memo here that was sent from Kathy James, our utility billing manager, through Allison Edge, our finance director, to Jim Buston, our city manager. I would like to nominate Jennifer Halverson, customer utility account supervisor, as the Employee of the Month for June of 2020. Jennifer joined the finance department staff as a taxpayer services representative in December of 2006 and has been in her current position since October of 2014. In addition to her normal job responsibilities, Jennifer willingly accepts challenges and projects. In 2017, the city began a multi-year phase financial software project that included the implementation of the utility billing module. For more than a year, Jennifer has been a functional co-lead of the utility billing module and has demonstrated outstanding effort to assure the migration is successful. Jennifer has spent an immense amount of time researching and verifying each data transferred correctly into the new system. She also worked in partnership with the city's information technology staff and external vendors regarding the work order and meter reading integration with the billing software. Jennifer's knowledge of the previous software system and her willingness to learn the new system and take action has proven to be a big part of the success of the software conversion process. It is due to her leadership and dedication to this project that I nominate Jennifer Halverson for June's Employee of the Month. Congratulations, Jennifer. I'm Mayor Ron Anders, and I'm proud to introduce you to the City of Auburn's Employee of the Month for the month of July, Miss Ann Randle. Today I have a memo that has been written by Mr. Tim Woody, our Public Works Director, to Megan McGowan Crouch, our Assistant City Manager, and was sent to my office by Jim Buston, the City Manager of the City of Auburn. I'm pleased to nominate Ann Randle as the City Employee for the month of July 2020. Ann was hired as the city's Urban Forestry Specialist in April of 2019. Since that time, she has demonstrated a remarkable work ethic, an unquestionable level of commitment, and an impressive ability to learn and adapt. Ann's performance of her job duties has been nothing short of exemplary, and she is rapidly advancing, developing a world-class urban forestry program. Ann was challenged with the task of reviewing the city's tree inventory and tree assessment methods to ensure that they conform to the International Arboricultural Society standards. Ann has inventoried and assessed over 3,000 trees within the city's rights-of-ways. Other accomplishments include obtaining her International Society of Arboricultural certification as an arborist, development of a revised list of regional appropriate tree species for the use in the city of Auburn, and she has obtained grant funding to reduce exotic invasive species while giving away 250 trees to Auburn citizens. Ann has also coordinated several tree removal and replacement projects in association with various capital programs. Ann is a pleasure to work with. She is a positive example of the city's core values in action, and she will undoubtedly continue to advance our community's reputation as the loveliest village on the plains. For these reasons, I nominate Ann Randle for July Employee of the Month. Congratulations. Again, thank you to our outstanding employees for the work that they do every single day. I have been privy to being around many of them during this COVID experience that we've had to live through, and they are working hard on behalf of our city. Very grateful to them, and congratulations to all of them that we've recognized here tonight. For some of my mayor's comments, I want to continue to reflect upon our fire division. We've got in our memo that we received this week, the city manager, we've got 6 gentlemen who have received promotions with our fire division. I'm not going to take the time now to go through each one of them and what they've done and how long they've been here, but I'll read their names quickly to you. Anthony Kane, Matthew Kane, Jay Gibbs, Joshua Holly, John Peaks, and Joshua Smith. So congratulations to each of those men for protecting us and doing their job well and being recognized by a promotion here with the city of Auburn. We look forward to them continuing to protect us each and every day. I want to also give a shout out to our own GIS business analyst, Britt Johnson, who spoke to 40 members of the CityWorks Southeast Regional Users Group at a quarterly meeting. So I'm proud to say that an employee here in Auburn is tutoring 40 folks who use the same software that we do around our area. And that must mean that we've got some good, smart people that work here in the city of Auburn. So congratulations to you, Britt. Thank you for doing that. I wanted to recognize the Gooch Center, who this week we were notified that they were awarded the best performing arts center in the state of Alabama. And so there's a lot of excitement around what they do and what a beautiful facility and state-of-the-art facility. And I was on the board that I serve on with the Gooch Center yesterday. We had a virtual meeting, and they're like all of us. They're working really hard in a difficult time right now to try to get back on track what they do, and the culture and the quality of life that center and those people out there perform on behalf of all of us. And I just want to tell them thank you and congratulations for being recognized. This past Saturday, Dr. Rusty Herring at the Cornerstone Chiropractic Clinic had his annual back to school bash, and their goal was to raise money for about 500 pairs of shoes. And they raised money for over 1,000 pairs of shoes that will be bought and given away to economically challenged families and children in our community. And I want them to know how much I appreciate them doing that project and helping those who need help in our community. And then finally, I just want to tell the staff, thank you. Next Monday and Tuesday, next Monday and Wednesday, the City Council will be sitting with the staff and going through budget hearings. And there's an enormous amount of work that has been put in this ring binder that all the city council will be receiving today. And I just want Jim to know how much I appreciate all the hard work that our staff has done to try to develop a budget for us in such an uncertain and difficult time that we're living in. Once again, we're very thankful for the dedication of our staff. At this time, I wanted the city manager to make some comments. There was a press release made today regarding the recognition of the governor's order related to the pandemic and some of the rules and desires of her order and us following those in the city. And Mr. Buston, if you would just talk to that a little bit.
Thank you, Mayor. Many of you have seen that Lee County, once a hotspot for COVID, we have started to make progress and we have started to see our numbers come down. And to the point where recently Lee County was put on a list of declining infection rates. Unfortunately, we had a bunch of people come new to town with the starting of school at the university. And many of them are not adhering to the governor's orders. You have seen some emails. We have seen a lot of social media posts through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, basically showing how in a lot of places around town, the venues are not being compliant with the governor's orders. Our police staff have done a great job over the last month educating citizens and educating businesses of what is expected of them. And we are now going into the phase of, if you will not comply, we are going to cite you. The citation can be anywhere from $25 to $500. It is adjudicated by the municipal court, so anyone who gets a citation will have to go to court and present their case to the judge. We believe that the Auburn community has done a great job in reducing our numbers. We want to keep our numbers down. We want to keep our businesses open. We want to keep Auburn University campus with students going to school on campus. If you you probably have seen today that Auburn University also has increased their wearing of masks. So now if you are on the campus at all, inside or outside, as soon as you set foot on the campus, you will be required to have a mask. They also are going to enforce that. At least that's what I'm told, that they have put plans in place to have people around campus that will be enforcing that order as well. So we're hoping that combined with the enhanced masking and social distancing on campus, and with some enhanced enforcement of masking and social distancing in the city, that we can keep our numbers low, we can defeat this virus. And we're just asking the public to bear with us just for a little while longer, and we believe we're on the downward trend. We want to continue that downward trend. But we are going to start looking to be punitive if you do not comply.
Thank you, Mr. Buston. Let me make some follow-up comments to that real quick. In the recent year, 2019, Auburn was recognized as one of the top 100 places to live in the United States. It was 25 on the best small place for business and careers. It was voted the South's best retirement town, and it was the fifth best city for economic growth potential in the United States. We have been recognized as a great place to raise children, and our students have been recognized as being some of the happiest students in the country. With all that being said, I think it's important for us to really go out of our way to treat each other like we are the outstanding community that we've been recognized by so many different publications. And let's rise above the activities and some of the conduct that we saw this past weekend, and try to go out of our way to be respectful of all of those in our community. What makes Auburn great is we're not only a great college town, but we do have a very thriving retirement community here. We have young families that are living here, and we are having people come here just to do business. And so with that mixed group of population, we've got people coming from all different places and that have all different interests, and we're gonna intersect with one another. And so all of our activities are gonna one way or another impact all of us that live here. One of the things that we talk about at Auburn is we talk about being the Auburn family. And so my challenge to everybody in our community is let's try to treat each other like the Auburn family and try to realize that our activities and our conducts and our habits could impact the health and welfare of those that we live with in this community. And let's go out of our way to try to do a little bit better job. All right. Okay, we'll move on then. And are there any city council announcements that anybody on city council would make tonight?
Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead, Beth.
Thank you, Mayor. I just would like to acknowledge today is a historic day. It marks the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, where women were given the right to vote, albeit that was white women. And then many years later, almost 5 decades later, women of color were given the right to vote. So we still had a long way to go, but I can't imagine a world where I don't have a voice and my children don't have a voice who are daughters. And I just think it's a great day to celebrate in our history and the ability to be a part of the process. Additionally, and as part of the process, yesterday I hosted a virtual Ward 3 stakeholder meeting, had about 30 people online, and then a whole host of others who watched on social media. So I just want to say thank you to those who engaged in the process as well. And we talked about projects in Ward 3 and projects in the city and the budget, and talked about what a great city staff that we have and how we have weathered this pandemic financially fairly well to this date. And with that as well, our Auburn City Schools did, I think, a very commendable job opening back up. Not perfect, but commendable. And my children have enjoyed being back in class, and I know their teachers have been operating in a very safe manner. So I just want to say thank you to Auburn City Schools as well.
Thank you, Ms. Whitten. Ms. Taylor.
Okay, yes, I have an announcement to make. I will be having a back to school event on Saturday, August the 29th at 11:00 a.m. at Sam Harris Park. And anyone that knows any child that needs supplies, it's going to be a drive-by event. So what that means is that they drive by, they get the supplies, and they move on. And we will be following all the COVID-19 guidelines. So we will be in mask. We'll be doing social distancing. And but the good part about it, you're just driving by. It's not an event that somebody can come out and, enjoy the playground or anything like that. So it's just a drive-by where you can pick up school supplies and also senior citizen lunches.
Thank you, Connie. Congratulations on that. Appreciate you doing that to help all the children. Anyone else on the council have an announcement?
Mayor, I've got a question.
Sure.
Or a request, perhaps. We had a small conversation Friday at our packet meeting about the future of our council meetings and whether or not they be in person or continue to be via Zoom. And it seems like we've settled into a Zoom world for just a little bit longer. I wonder what the logistics or the possibility of being able to add our pledge and a prayer as my if I had my druthers, but at least our moment of silence to be added back to our agenda every other week.
Mr. Buston, I'll address that to you.
We could
certainly do that. Mm-hmm. Okay. We had a moment of silence honoring Mr. Lawrence just a few weeks ago. So
we'll just add it to the agenda.
We'll just add it to the agenda. Okay.
Standard part of our agenda for years. So I'd like to see it added back.
Sure. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Anyone else with an announcement? Okay, we'll move forward to the committee of the whole. We had no agenda items on our committee of the whole tonight. There were a couple of questions that were asked from council members, but we had no items on our agenda. So at this time, we'll move forward to citizens communications on agenda items. So these would be just communications on items that are on tonight's agenda. I would also remind many of you who might be listening that a number of our items, particularly in the resolutions, all have a public hearing attached to that. So we will be discussing those through a public hearing later on. But if there's anything else regarding our consent agenda, contracts, agreements, easements, warranty deeds, or our ordinance that we'll be discussing later on tonight, then now is the time to make those comments. Yeah, please raise your hand if you're interested in making a comment on any agenda item tonight. Please raise your hand through your Zoom application. Mark Meager.
Yes, sir.
Mark, would you be wanting to talk about the potential restaurant at 200 North College Street?
That's correct.
All right, we'll have a public hearing for that when that item comes up on our agenda, if you wouldn't mind waiting until that moment.
Oh, absolutely. I thought that's what this was. I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Anyone else like to speak to an item on tonight's agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move forward to City Manager's communications.
Under City Manager's communication this evening, our first item of business is the consent agenda. Does any council member wish to remove an item from the consent agenda and deal with that item individually?
Anyone?
Yes, Jim, I'd like to remove C1.
6C1.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing or hearing no one. Mr. Buston, we'll take item 6C1 first.
Okay. Item 6C1 is the acceptance of a drainage utility and temporary construction easement from Jesse A. and Sherry H. Chapel for property located at 701 Oak Knoll Circle. This is for the Ogletree Road Culvert Replacement Project.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions? I'll turn this over to you now, Jay.
I'd just like to abstain, please.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have a question or comment from the council? All right, seeing and hearing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
And that motion carries.
Okay, those are all the items.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you.
Under ordinances this evening, we have item 7A is a 120-day extension of the moratorium on the construction of private dormitories and academic detached dwelling units.
I'll introduce the ordinance and ask for unanimous consent.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Does anyone on the council have a problem moving forward with a vote on this evening?
I will be abstaining from this vote.
Okay. Seeing none, Lindsay, would you please do the roll call?
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Dixon,
Yes.
Griswold,
Yes, ma'am.
Hovey,
Yes, ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Smith,
Abstain.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Anders.
Yes. Any questions or comments from the council?
Is there a possibility of changing this to just not having an end date, and instead of us having to redo it time after time, just leave it indefinite, and then we can always introduce an ordinance to remove that at some point?
Mr. Buston, was there a specific reason? I know at the beginning, we we wanted to have a manageable amount of time that was, we thought, I guess, fair. And that's why it was set for, was it 90 days or 120 days the first time?
90 days.
90 days. And then obviously COVID hit and everything changed. So we just kind of got in a 90-day routine. Jim, would that be a fair way of summarizing?
I think it was on the advice of council that we do have an end date and not just put it at an indeterminate date. It is possible for, as Councilperson Griswold said, for the council to come back and say, we're finished, we don't want to go to that, whatever the date is. But I believe it was at the advice of council that we do put some ending date, whatever that date be. I would have to check on that, but that's my recollection.
Any other comments from anybody on the council regarding this, or any comment to Mr. Griswold's question?
So after the 190 days, we can do another extension? Is that what you're saying? Or is this the final?
You could. We are hoping that won't have to be. As you see in your packet, we do have some timeframes for bringing things to you, at least timeframes for going to the Planning Commission, then coming to you. The reason we picked 120 days this time instead of 90 is so that we don't have to keep coming back. I'm hoping that even 90 would be too long, but 120 takes us to the end of the year, and that was basically what we were proposing.
Any other questions or comments from the council? I think it's in all of our best interest. I think we all want to get this settled, talked about, debated, and move on from this is when we can. And that was the thought when we started this moratorium in the winter, is to give the community the answers that they need so the city of Auburn can move on. And we've been talking about student housing for a while. The Planning Commission has already begun to discuss this. They've had a work session. They are planning to put topics and potential changes on in their September meeting that will be coming to us potentially in October. I'm confident that the staff is now moving forward and bringing this to us as quick as they can. That doesn't mean that our part won't be difficult and there won't be rich, robust debate amongst the council and the citizens once we get to that point. And I don't know how fast we can come to a conclusion, but it's something that we need to move forward with. I'm comfortable with 120 days, and I certainly hope that we can get through quicker than that. That would be my perspective. Any other comments or questions from the council? Okay, do I have a motion to approve this?
So moved.
All right, have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Lindsay with the roll call.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Dixon,
Yes.
Griswold,
Yes.
Hovey,
Yes, ma'am.
Parsons,
Yes.
Smith,
Abstain.
Taylor,
Yes.
Witten,
Yes.
Anders.
Yes.
Under resolutions this evening, we have item 8A1 is Robert Selby requesting conditional use approval for an axe throwing indoor recreational use on property located at 1667 Shug Jordan Parkway. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this item and a public hearing is required.
Do you have a motion?
Move to approve.
All right.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. At this time, we'll open the public hearing. If anybody would like to speak to the city council, please raise your hand and we will call on you. You'll need to give your name and address for the record. Anybody like to speak to the public hearing on this item? Okay. Seeing no one, are there any comments or questions from the council?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Donahue Crossing, located at 1667 Shug Jordan. Is that the property that they're working on? Is it sitting on a hill? Or are we talking about something different?
It's kind of right in front, but catty corner to the Walmart
Oh,
grocery store there. That's there on Sugar Jared.
okay. Okay. Now what is axe throwing?
It's throwing an axe at a target.
Oh, okay.
Are you volunteering to be the first person in there to try it out, Connie?
No,
Okay.
I've never heard of it. That sounds dangerous.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And that motion carries.
Item 8A2 is Lee Tharp requesting conditional use approval for a grocery store on property located at 138 South Gay Street. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this item. A public hearing is required.
Move for
Move
approval.
for approval.
All right, I believe I heard a motion and a second. This time we'll open the public hearing. If there's anybody that'd like to address the city council, please give your name and address for the record. And then you would need to raise your hand through your Zoom application. Okay, seeing no one, are there any comments or questions from the council?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure, go ahead.
Did planning or anyone else at the city receive any comments or input from the adjoining property, specifically the church?
I can let our city planner address it. I'm sure all of the property owners were contacted, but I don't know if we received any comment. Forrest, would you like to address that? Forrest, you're muted.
His phone is muted on the attendee side.
So Greg, can you unmute him?
You hear me now?
You got you.
Yeah, there were no objections expressed at the Planning Commission meeting last week.
So the assumption is the Presbyterian Church right next door, they're aware of this, and they've not voiced any type of concern to you, Forrest, anybody on your
I
staff?
think you have to make that assumption based on our notification requirements and the fact that we got no objections.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thanks, Forrest. Anyone else on the council have a question or comment?
Okay, what would the traffic flow? Because this is gonna be where the Chick-fil-A was located.
No, this is going to be where the old Burger King was on Gay Street.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, okay. I got you. I looked at it wrong. I'm sorry.
All right. Any other, Connie, do you have another question or anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay, anyone else on the council? It's very interesting for somebody who's lived here all my life to think how many grocery stores have been in that area. There was one on the same side of the street as this at one time. Then right across the street where Auburn United Methodist Church is was Superfoods. And so now there's another grocery store. I think it's very interesting. The grocery's always been in that location. So anyway, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And that motion carries.
Item 8A3 is Matthew Myers requesting conditional use approval for a fast food restaurant with drive-through on property located at 200 North College Street. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this item. A public hearing is required.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. At this time, we'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to address the city council, please give your name and address for the record. And please raise your hand. Mr. Meager, you did jump early at the beginning of the meeting. If you'd like to raise your hand now, this would be the time for you to speak. We'll call on you. Please give your name and address for the record.
My name is Mark Meeker, and I reside, got a secondary residence at 602 Hazelwood Court in Auburn. I've got a primary residence in Albany, Georgia, 511 Greenwood Drive. And my sister and I own 2 of the 3 lots involved in this lease arrangement with Guthrie's. This property has been in our family for 5 generations, and we would like to continue that into a 6th generation. That is our objective. So I'm urging you tonight to pass this resolution or variance, whatever it is, to help us retain this property for 1 more generation to come. My family has longstanding ties to Auburn, Alabama, as does the Mason family, who owns the adjoining lot, and as does the Guthrie family, whose business home office is here in Auburn. Both my father and my grandfather were born and raised in Auburn. I attended Dean Road Elementary School. My sister attended my grandmother's kindergarten back in the 1960s. I graduated from Auburn, as did my father, my mother, my sister, both my daughters. And in our hearts, Auburn will always be the loveliest village on the plains. I once heard Dr. Charles Hendricks describe Auburn as a combination of Mayberry and Camelot. And I think that description fits my memories of Auburn perfectly. But at last week's planning committee meeting, I heard one committee member refer to Auburn as an urban core. And somehow I cannot see Auburn ever being fondly remembered as the loveliest urban core on the plains. In my opinion, Auburn should always remain, as Dr. Charles Hendricks referred to it, a combination of Mayberry and Camelot. I pray is always thought of as a big time college located within a village, not an urban core. Now, I'm sure developers and out-of-state investors would love to turn Auburn into a metropolis of high-rise apartments intermixed with national chains of stores and restaurants to maximize the value of every square foot of downtown Auburn. But in the end, all that does is turn Auburn into Athens or Gainesville or, heaven forbid, Tuscaloosa. We need to preserve at least some of the legacy of our village past with locally owned, locally run family businesses like Guthrie's. The property in question has been a restaurant in the past. It's been a bank in the past with a drive-through. My grandfather built the dollhouse on it back in 1939. My father's generation of Auburn alumni will forever remember it that way. In the 1960s, Benny and Ethel Hunt turned that location into the Santa Freeze or the Flush. And that will be the memory of this location to my generation of Auburn alumni. And I would love for my children and grandchildren's generation to forever remember this location as where Guthrie's was located. That is the legacy that the Meager family and the Mason family and the Guthrie family would like to leave Auburn when we pass this property on to our heirs, helping forever maintain the image of Auburn as the loveliest village on the plains. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Meager. Stone Ray, you're next.
Thank you, Mayor. This is Stone. I am now at 1920 3rd Avenue South in the city of Birmingham, but I wanted to address the council on a couple things regarding this evening. I just wanted to say that I hope the council considers the negative impacts of additional road service uses in the urban districts. And I would ask that the council please see this request as a decision based on principle. The principle that we already understand road service uses, particularly drive-through restaurants, are problematic in urban districts and against the goal that we have established in the downtown master plan. The principle that we understand these types of approvals are the antithesis of a walkable and well-designed urbanism suitable for the city of Auburn's core. You know, this council has made great progress in recent years, further tailoring the downtown area. And in my opinion, we have matured past entertaining any new drive-through restaurants in the core. You know, we're now on to more detailed things like streetscape projects, looking at our parking requirements, looking at our material and glazing requirements, establishing a DDRC, and many other task forces. So in my opinion, I believe continuing to approve uses like this that are anti-urban, that are suburban, that don't belong in these districts is taking a step backwards. Nothing against Guthrie's or filling this space, but if in my opinion, if folks want to operate in the core, they need to participate with the core and not provide automobile uses that belong in other districts. So I hope that the council sees this as principle and not as a single case basis. We have a lot of work to do in the core, but like I said, we've made great progress, and I think this would distract from that great progress. So thank you, Mayor and Council, very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. Good luck in your new job.
Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else? Mr. Scott Burson.
Yes, hello. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to,
Sir, would you please state your name and give us your current address? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes, sir. No, please. It's Scott Burson, 444 North Ross Street.
All right, go ahead.
All right. I'd just like to echo a little bit of what Stone had just said. I'm very worried about the idea of introducing another auto-focused development so close to where we now are going to have hundreds and hundreds of new downtown residents who are going to be walking around that area, walking to campus in the next year or two. Considering that the downtown master plan does not encourage drive-throughs in this area, they're allowed in limited circumstances, and I could see how they would be allowed perhaps for the Chick-fil-A, which was part of a larger project and had a lot of mitigating factors to help make it a more pedestrian-friendly area. A little bit more, I don't see a whole lot of that with this, and it makes me worried that there's going to be a lot of conflict with a lot of these hundreds of new students who are going to be walking around this area. I have nothing against a Guthrie's there. I think it would be great. I have absolutely nothing against that. I think it would be a good addition on that lot. I just want to say I'm worried about safety for students and safety for the people downtown. And that's all I would like to say. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to address the council? Yes, Parker Lewis?
Yeah, Ron, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, just a couple things. I'm Parker Lewis with Hydro Engineering Solutions. I'm at 710 East Sanford Avenue. I'm working with Guthrie's on behalf of Guthrie's on this project. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. Just to make a couple of points. You know, as the staff noted, the downtown master plan does recognize that at sometimes a drive-through could be an appropriate sort of use downtown. I think the intent with that would be for just such a site as this. We're on a corner. It's a former bank. It's got a drive-through. There's already two existing driveways, one on Glen, one on College. I think it's important to note here that this store is going to be Guthrie's, flagship store. It is in the urban core. We're absolutely going to increase and improve pedestrian access to this site. We're going to have outdoor seating. We're going to have screening of the parking lot. This use is not so much to bring a bunch of cars downtown. It's simply a matter of trying to capture the cars that are already downtown. This is currently a bank. And so in order to make the investment to convert a bank to a restaurant, in this sort of COVID era, a drive-through is a critical component of that for this Guthrie's and for Joe Guthrie and for the owners. I think it's very important to note that, as Mr. Meager pointed out, the Masons and the Meagers have owned this property for 50 plus years, these three parcels. I think the Meagers have owned it for 75 years. So from a development standpoint, they're really only having to pay the property tax on this site. And they can do that by renting parking spaces to Live Oaks and to Domino's and things of that nature. I think Mr. Meager's sentiments when he was talking was mostly in reference to the idea that not everything downtown has to be a 3 or 4 or 5, 6-story building, and he doesn't want to do that. He's absolutely not going to do that in his lifetime. This is a use that allows us to put one of our own, Guthrie's. They've been here 50 years working, in this market. I mean, it's an opportunity for us to put a business at this location that's going to be thriving with all of these college kids down there, with all of these apartment buildings. We fully expect 90% of our business at this location to be walk-up business. But at the same time, there's a lot of vehicles on the road today, and we want to be able to capture those vehicles, especially if we get into a situation where the doors of the restaurant have to be closed for 6 months. So the drive-through is an important piece. So like I said, be happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody on the council have a question for Mr. Lewis while he is on the line?
I do. Mr. Lewis, if you could speak to the layout of the drive-through and the options that you have for the vehicles stacking.
Yes, be happy to. Yeah, there was a good bit of conversation at the Planning Commission meeting on Thursday about that. Right now, the existing drive-through is on the northern side of the building. So it's really hidden from Glen Avenue. It's on the north side. The drive-through lane is on the east side of the building. I think the location of the drive-through and its lack of visibility to the public right-of-way, I think that's one of the key reasons why planning staff felt like this matches sort of an urban drive-through. So the plan is for the sort of entrance off of Glen to be, you're coming off of Glen and you'll get into the drive-through lane. There's also a second lane that loops around the building. So I know there was some concern at the Planning Commission meeting about cars backing up into Glen. With a right-in, right-out only driveway on Glen, which is one of engineering's recommendations, the drive-through lane can hold about 11 cars. Right now, the existing Guthrie's that's at Glen and Dean, which will remain open, by the way, that existing Guthrie's at Dean holds about 7 cars in the drive-through, and they've never had any issues backing up into Dean. So we feel like 11 cars in the drive-through stacking is ample. However, should a problem arise, that drive-through lane can easily be configured to force cars to circulate around the building before they get into the drive-through lane, in which case the drive-through could hold like 23 vehicles, maybe 24. But so obviously, if we're talking a heavy day, let's say a game day. Now, first of all, we think on a game day, we're still going to have primarily walk-up traffic. But if for some reason somebody's, coming through on the way to the tailgate and they swing into the Guthrie's, we can have 23 vehicles in that drive-through lane very easily with minor modifications. Does that answer that question?
Thank you. Yes, it does. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Lewis while he's on the line from the council?
I just got one question.
Sure.
They coming in off of the drive-through off of Glen, and they coming out the drive-through. They're gonna exit also off of Glen. Exit out on North College.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I probably made that sound a little confusing. Yes, you're exactly correct. There's a drive-through. There's a driveway on College, and also a drive on Glen. So the driveway on Glen can only be right in and right out, and then the driveway on College also allows folks to turn right out of that driveway. I do need to look at that driveway configuration with Allison Frazier, the city engineer. She has already recommended and required a traffic study be performed, and that study will help to show what that driveway on College looks like, whether it's a full service driveway or whether it's right in, right out only, or what that is. But cars will be able to turn out onto College and also onto Glen.
Okay. I don't have any problems with the Guthries at all because I love Guthries. The food is good. But I was just thinking in my mind, it's sort of really congested right there now. That's my way home if I leave going in that direction. So if you come out on North College and the train, it holds up a lot of traffic. And I've seen where the traffic that's coming from going toward, I guess you would say, the university, and they going toward CVS. Okay, that traffic right there in the turning lane is really congested, especially when the train comes. Now, that's an issue there and then also if you own Glen and going through the drive-through and come out that way, that's really congested. Because I've stood in line for almost 20 minutes. Then you got a crosswalk right there. So has all that been considered?
Parker?
Yes, ma'am. That's exactly what we need to sort of resolve with the city from an engineering standpoint, and the traffic study will help us sort of figure all of that out in a little bit more detail. What's the best way to handle that traffic? Or that traffic flow.
Okay, because where it's located now, is that bank open? Is that open?
That building has been closed for a while now, right, Parker?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I was just going to say, yeah, the bank has been closed for a good long time. I think Bernie Office Solutions has been using that as an office building, but I think it's currently vacant. It's just a vacant property currently. And so right now, I think it's being used for parking for Live Oaks and maybe the Domino's employees and some of those things.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was alluding to. I was thinking that the Live Oak, those people park over there. So, what would happen to, I guess, those individuals, and where would they park since they won't have the access to park in the government parking area? Just my mind as how congested it's going to be now, because it's really congested now.
Well, hopefully by this time next year, they'll park in the new city parking deck.
New city parking deck. Okay.
Yep, walk down the street. That's what the hope would be. Okay. Any other questions for Parker while he's still on the line? Okay. Thank you, Parker. If you'd stay close in case we would like to come back to you, I appreciate it. All right. Would anyone else like to address the council in the public hearing right now? Please raise your hand. Anyone? Okay. All right, we'll close the public hearing. Does the council have any comments or questions at this point in time?
Yeah, I do.
Sure, go ahead.
First off, I'd like to point out on Jim's introduction, he said the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval. I think it was a 5-4 vote, so I don't think.
That is correct. I've gotten a couple of texts here. It is incorrect in your agenda item summary.
It should be correct in there. Sorry, I apologize.
Mistake made. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so anyway, so there was quite a bit of discussion and whatnot at the Planning Commission meeting. There's been some references to the downtown master plan. Unfortunately, our downtown doesn't look remotely like the images that were presented in the master plan. But going forward, I would hope we would try to abide by it. And this is simply contrary to the objectives of the plan. I can't imagine a worse location for a drive-through. I know I just live down the street from that. The apartments that have been built behind what was the Bernie's and the ones that are to the north of the old bicycle shop both have driveways coming out there, and you can sit and watch the students try to get out of those driveways on any given day. And it's a challenge for them already. The adjacent property owner, Ms. Margaret Brown, spoke at the Planning Commission meeting, and the proposed drive-through is simply, it is actually just a matter of feet from her building, which is a practicing law office. She expressed her objections as well. I just don't see any possible way for a drive-through to be successful there. I don't believe it takes any kind of complicated traffic study to come to the conclusion that a drive-through at that intersection at the stoplight with the railroad tracks, the 2 apartment complexes, the restaurants across the street, there's no other conclusion that that's going to be a problem. So I would have to express my objections to this. And it is not that I object to Guthrie's. I think that would be a fine addition to downtown. It's just simply I object to a drive-through restaurant. So if the drive-through were eliminated, there would be no need for a conditional use request. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Kelly. Anyone else on the council?
I would just like to state that I do agree that it's not the most ideal location for a drive-through. However, we approved a drive-through at the location, which is at Gay and basically Gay and Titchener there. That is hardly, I don't think has ever been used. I don't think the intent here is to have a drive-through dependent business. It is just an option for those who are passing by. I don't believe that this Guthrie's is going to be a destination for those wanting to get takeout, and consumer behavior will respond to any adverse traffic. As a consumer, if I know it's going to be a nightmare to get out of there, I'm not going to visit the drive-through. I'm going to park and walk in and get my food, but I still have to get out. If I park out onto the same traffic as I would as I was driving through. So I've been to Guthrie's all over town or throughout our community, and I have never seen more than 3 or 4 cars in a drive-through, even the one like Mr. Lewis stated on Dean, which is only, well, not only, but primarily a drive-through. So it also allows for limited use of drive-throughs, and I don't see how we can state that we approved a drive-through for a Chick-fil-A off of Magnolia and then not approve this use. And this lot is, these lots is 3 lots, and they are they're going to be very difficult for any other type of business to come in here and make it viable. And I don't believe the downtown master plan states that we like blighted empty buildings sitting in the downtown. So for that, I believe we should approve the conditional use of a drive-through and support the Guthrie's family. And I can assure you, if it becomes a nuisance for the consumer, they're not going to use the drive-through.
Thank you, Ms. Whitten. Would anyone else like to speak from the council? Forrest, I have a question for you. Mr. Buston, I'd like to ask Forrest a question.
You want to just go ask a question and I'll.
Okay, well, there it just popped on. Yeah, so the question, could you talk about what is an urban drive-through?
Can I talk about the urban drive-through?
Yeah, what is that compared to I guess more a traditional drive-through?
Well, I mean, the key thing you really want to do is to hide it as much as possible and not make it as minimal an obstruction as necessary to pedestrians. This was a tough call for the planning department to make. I fully admit that. We really agonized over this case, but at the end of the day, we felt we were fortunate that where the drive-through is currently is actually about as ideal as you can get. We're sitting with an empty building that's been empty for quite some time, and there was some concern based on what's going on around it. I don't see anything going on to the north of it, the Freewheeler building. So it's basically been built around. There's no indication of any assemblage pending. We just felt like it was time to get the building reused. And quite frankly, from a market perspective, if nobody can get in there, guess what? It's going to fail. I don't think that's going to happen, but I think given the location, given the options, it's probably about as good as we could hope for.
Mr. Cotton, any changes they might make to the property or the building would have to go through the downtown design review team?
That's correct. The grocery store that you considered previously, as well as this building, any exterior changes, we will make sure that it gets run through the Downtown Design Review Committee.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the council?
Well, I appreciate Forrest's comments because they really kind of summarize my thoughts. I mean, we've got a vacant building that's surrounded by a huge parking lot that has an existing drive-through. You know, if this was a completely new redevelopment of this corner, you know, perhaps we could have a different conversation. But if the cars are already going to be parking there in an existing parking lot to go inside the building or to be served in the parking lot, you know, I just don't know as far as ingress and egress. You know, I don't see where an urban drive-through is going to be that detrimental to typical vehicular traffic as it sits. You know, and while we might can assume what a traffic study is going to show, you know, I do like to would like to acknowledge and appreciate the fact that they have to have one and abide by it along with the downtown design review. So it's not like they're going to have free reign to do whatever they want to, and look forward to seeing what this traffic study will show and any kind of accommodations that it might suggest or require the building to take place. So, I mean, I'd rather use this building as suggested than let it sit there for another 2 years with nothing going on. Just my thoughts, if that's what we're passing out.
Thank you, Jay. Anyone else on the council would like to make a comment or have a question? Everybody good? You know, from my point of view, we've got a very unique location here. There's 2 different families that own 3 different lots. It's been sitting empty now for a long time. We've got a family who has grown a business from our hometown that wants to make this their flagship store. There is a way to do an urban drive-through. They have got a plan around stacking up to 24 cars if they need to, which I doubt ever happens. My wife has a business right next to their store on North Dean. It has never been a problem from a noise or nuisance or anything like that, and they flow their cars through there pretty rapidly, according to her. I believe this is a use that we've got to try and we need to empower, and I believe the Guthrie family will do an outstanding job being downtown, and I believe our traffic study, working with Mr. Lewis, will bear us out the best flow of traffic that we can possibly get downtown. This is, as Jay said, we're not starting from scratch here. This was a drive-through piece of property for many, many years. And I know Auburn's a different town since the bank was probably there. I'm guessing that's been 2 or 3 years ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. But I believe the plan is there to make this successful. And it's a building that's not performing at all. And this is an opportunity for this building to be a great performer for our community from a revenue standpoint. So I'm supportive. Okay, we do have a motion. We do have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Nay. Nay.
Nay.
Okay. Lindsay, let's do a roll call, please.
Dawson,
Yes, ma'am.
Dixon,
No.
Griswold,
No.
Hovey,
Yes, ma'am.
Parsons,
No.
Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
yes?
Yes.
Okay. Taylor? No? Witten?
Yes.
Anders?
Yes.
Item 8A4 is Brian Malone requesting conditional use approval for a multi-unit development on property located at 1200 Opelika Road The planning commission unanimously recommended approval of this item and a public hearing is required.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. This time we'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to address the city council, please raise your hand on your Zoom application and give your name and address for the record. Not seeing anyone, Greg? No. Okay. We don't have anyone for the public hearing, so we'll close the public hearing. Any comments or questions from the council? Comments or questions from the council?
I have a question.
Sure.
This is the same developer that built the other two phases of Midtown, is that correct?
Is that correct, Mr. Busty? Yes.
Okay. And previous phases were presented as family and young professional type lodging, and yet were then advertised online as rent by the room. Is there any assurance that similar actions and is this going to become student housing? Is this just another way of getting around the rules?
What are the? Is there a specific question there, Kelly? I want to make sure we get you answer the question you're asking.
What is it that differentiates this from student housing that is prohibited by moratorium?
Forrest is muted again on the phone. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that.
Forrest, you want to go ahead and take that one? Forrest, we can't hear you. Can you unmute? Okay, try it now.
This phase is all one-bedroom units, so that in and of itself does not constitute private dormitory or academic detached dwelling unit. We can't regulate whether or not students live in them.
I have a question.
Sure, Bob.
The landscaping on phase 1 and 2, is that ever going to happen?
Are you talking about the landscaping within the development or along the right of way?
The frontage on the right of way.
Y'all just passed at the last council meeting, I believe, we passed the contract.
Yeah, I understand that, but within the complex itself, it gets deeper into the complex than just on the right of way, correct?
Yes, they do have landscaping requirements on the private property as well.
Have they fulfilled those?
To my knowledge, they have.
Okay, thank you.
Isn't some of that frontage property out parcels to be developed?
Let me ask Megan to give you, she knows about this development. Let me have her give you a little bit of a overview of the development.
As we previously indicated, and Jim spoke of this, city manager did, about the Renew Opelika Road Phase 4 project. Part of that is there are commercial buildings to the front. That's why those parcels aren't landscaped. You've seen the little pop-up shops and other things go in and they landscape by phase. But remember that front buffer yards on Opelika Road are required to be street trees that meet the Renew Opelika Road plan parameters. And as City Manager Buston indicated, that's going in as part of the Renew Opelika Road Phase 4 project that we're building, but the developer has contributed financially toward those improvements. And those don't go in until the sidewalk gets done. We're adding curb and gutter and other things, and that happens at that time. Also, as Forrest indicated, as the commercial buildings go up, there will be additional landscaping around those buildings. And then we also, we do have Parker Lewis, who is the engineer on the project, and he can speak to that at your pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Lewis?
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer. I think I've got an answer that Mr. Parsons is looking for. The frontage that right now doesn't look very nice is exactly that. It's 4 out parcels. Those out parcels have been sold to someone who is currently developing. I'm anticipating building construction beginning on those 4 parcels really any day now. That sort of builder and architect has been working with the codes department to get their building plans approved. And those will be, I think there's 2 4,000 square feet buildings and a 5,000 square foot building, and then like a 2,500 square foot building. And those 4 buildings are all the same owner. It's a different owner than this developer. But that owner is should be beginning construction on those buildings any day now. And then, as Megan mentioned, all of that frontage was coordinated with the sort of stretch of Opelika Road for this Renew Opelika Road project. So that project was bid, and I think some of our coronavirus slowdown has got the city maybe looking at the schedule of when that may start construction, but all of that has been designed and bid and it should be changing greatly in the next 6 months out there along the frontage and in Opelika Road.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I may,
Sure.
what happened to the restaurant and the deal that was supposed to go in there? I guess that fell through.
The owner of that property where the restaurant was supposed to go in the amphitheater sold it to this particular developer.
So the restaurant's out the window.
That particular restaurant is out the window, yes.
Now, I can understand where Colonel Griswold is coming from. I would have some questions about it as well, but I do think we should try to help the developer out and pass this, because I do remember what was there, Plaza Hotel, and this by far beats that. I spent much of my career working around that place trying to fight the war on drugs in that particular area, and it was a sight better than it was then. So I just appreciate what's been done so far and to help us get rid of that eyesore.
Anyone else in the council?
I just got a question.
Sure.
So how many units is going to be built?
41.
41, and all of those units are going to be 1 bedroom.
All of them are 1-bedroom units, yes.
Okay, that was my question.
Okay. Anyone else in the council have a question?
I do have a follow-up. Yep.
Sure.
I'm looking at the packet and it says that 13 1-bedrooms, 4 that have double with duplexes, and 3 quads with 4 bedrooms. Am I reading that wrong or what? I'm on the map. That's the last page of the packet for this.
Forrest, you want
to see it.
Forrest, you want to answer that one?
There's number of total buildings, 22, 13 1-bedroom cottages, 4 duplexes with 2 units each. And
Right, well, yeah, 5 quads means 5 4-unit buildings with 1 bedroom each. So the city manager is correct. In totality, it's 41 units and 41 beds. It's just some of them are conjoined, some of them are not. They're in different configurations. The bedroom, they're all 1 bed.
Okay, thank you. That clears that up. Thank you.
Yep. Any other comments or questions?
I'll just echo Chief Dawson's sentiments about the success, in my opinion, of this project in Opelika Road through my lifetime, or the change in my lifetime as well. And I appreciate what the developer's done and the efforts to keep it going, frankly, in the climate that we're in these days, and to try and make the best of what they've got. These 1-bedroom units, in my opinion, could be marketed to students, but to young professionals too. So I mean, I think if you're trying to make the best of a situation, once again, this is as high on the chart as I can imagine for the spot. So I appreciate the developer, what they're doing.
Okay, Jay. Anyone else?
Mayor,
Okay.
I'll echo what Jay and Chief Dawson said, especially this being in the ward, my ward. I think it's a great addition. I think the city, it's a great partnership with the city and the developers to really change the face and how Opelika Road does and how that connects between the mall and downtown. Again, I'm glad that they were able to. I hate that, I'm glad to see continued improvements there. I'm glad to see, as council approved additional improvements on that road. I think it's going to be fantastic. It's fantastic for the city. It's fantastic for that area. Glad to see this addition.
Okay, Brett, thank you. Anyone else?
Some great shops in Midtown. Had an opportunity to go to the plaza Friday afternoon, and I mean, it just really is a neat opportunity for that area on Opelika Road. So, something we've been talking about for several years, and to finally see it kind of come into fruition is pretty neat. So go check out some of the shops. It's not all 1-bedroom cottages or apartments. You've got a lot of out parcel shops and stores and exercise facilities. We've got a gym and a yoga studio in there. So it's a pretty neat little all-encompassing spot. So
thank you, Jay. I can remember my mom and dad taking me to Stoker's that was on that location when I was a child. When you think about what that looked like just a few years ago and what's going on there now, what a change, and what a neat, interesting place it is for Auburn, and what a productive place it is. And it really took away some real kind of deteriorating properties in our city. And so, I can remember when we were approving this, the neighborhood at Burke Place was very concerned about noise and things that might have gone on, even though I was comfortable with what the restaurant owner and developer had planned for that entertainment and restaurant center. But I believe this would be more palatable to them to have 1-bedroom apartments across the railroad tracks, as opposed to what they thought they might be getting in an amphitheater and a lot of noise and activity. But yeah, I agree with you, Jay. I was out there getting lunch the other day at the food truck, and the plaza was hopping. And so people are starting to discover it, and it's a very interesting place. Okay. Anyone else have anything they'd like to say? Okay, we do have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, the motion carries.
Item 8A5 is Parker Lewis requesting conditional use approval for a cottage housing development on property located at 120 Mimosa Avenue and 820 North College Street. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this conditional use, and a public hearing is required.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. At this time, we'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to address the city council, please raise your hand on your Zoom application, and when we call on you, please give your name and address for the record. Anyone? Okay, seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Is there anyone on the council that has a question or a comment?
Well, it's me again. I'm encouraged, and I certainly welcome redevelopment in that area, particularly on the portion that's facing North College. But I'm afraid that in my view, we are leaning way too far in terms of giving the developer everything he wanted in order to make that happen. The CHD, the cottage home development, a cottage home district, or whatever the CHD stands for there, it prohibits taking access from arterial roads. That's in the zoning ordinances. And this has vehicular access from both Mimosa and from North College. In addition, the CHD requires parking. The CHD zoning regulations rather requires parking to be at the rear or grouped together at a specific location. And this has parking in between the units visible from all the roads. Staff comments were that it was not in harmony with the future land use classification. The Planning Commission had to address 2 separate waivers of which they voted on independently, one for buffers and one for open space. So again, I think redevelopment of that would be a great thing to do. The concept I think is pretty good. It would be a welcome change to what's there now, but I don't think that we need to disregard the existing zoning and various things that required waivers in order to make it happen, particularly since the staff was not in complete concurrence with this project going forward. Thank you.
Mayor, could I get city planner to address the staff comments, because I believe the staff was in favor of this, or at least were. Forrest, could you address that?
We recommended approval of the use. Now I need to clarify a couple of things. Here's a case where we've got a disparity between the comprehensive plan land use designation and the zoning. So the comprehensive plan future land use designation is medium density residential, which is 8 units an acre, but the zoning is redevelopment district, which allows up to 16 units an acre. If you look at the density for this project, it's close to 10. So we felt like, all things considered, legally by right, they could do 16 units. They're doing 9.72, I believe. The parking is grouped together, and the development is not taking direct access from arterials. And I know what this means because I wrote the regulations, and we have townhome communities that are just like this all over the city, where they take a single driveway entrance off an arterial. This regulation is designed to preclude the individual cottages from taking access from the arterial. The individual cottages are not taking direct access from the arterial.
All right, any other questions or comments from anyone on the council?
Well, I would just like to say that, we don't have a lot of affordable housing options, and that's a constant theme that we discuss. And cottage housing with lower square footages and lower density in an area that's pretty blighted right now, and this is in my ward, so I know that. The access is off of Mimosa going into the cottage development, and to me, the waivers that were granted were reasonable, which is why the Planning Commission approved them. And it's outside of our purview to worry about the waivers. And additionally, the redevelopment of this does meet the zoning, and like the planning director stated, the future land use plan, which is slated for 2030, we're not there yet. So if we have someone who's willing to take this area, redevelop it, provide some unique affordable housing options that are frankly walkable and would create some great activity for that area and so forth, I would be in complete support of. And we've had considerable favorable feedback from constituents in this area.
Thank you, Ms. Whitten. Anyone else? Okay, any other comments, questions from the council? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, 1 nay. All right, motion carries.
Item number 8B is a resolution authorizing the fixing of costs for the cutting of grass and weeds at 556 Foster Street. A public hearing is required.
For approval.
Second.
I have a motion second. At this time, we'll open the public hearing. If you'd like to address the city council, please raise your hand and give us your name and address for the record. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Any comments or questions from the council? Seeing and hearing no one, we'll go ahead and call for vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the motion carries.
Mayor, those are all the items we have on the agenda this evening.
Okay. This time we'll open the Citizens Open Forum. This is your opportunity to address the council about anything that you might have on your mind. Remember that you have 3 minutes, and please give your name and address for the record. Greg, do we have anybody? Please raise your hand. Okay. Seeing no one, we'll move forward. Is there a move to adjourn?
So moved.
City Council meeting is adjourned. Y'all have a good week.